All right, so just to quickly discuss how 140 beats per minute can also be 70 beats per minute. Okay, so what I'm about to show you is that this loop right here is the same as this loop. The only difference is when I go to the second loop, I have to put it to 70 beats per minute, okay? And then when I go to pattern 1, I have to go to 140 beats per minute. And so why that is because I have cut the tempo in half when it's 140 beats per minute to make it 70. And then here, this is 70 beats per minute. So for example, when I was making my drum loop with you guys, I was saying that this is my 1, this is my 2, this is my 3, this is my 4, and then it would repeat 1, 2, 3, 4. So this would be an 8-beat loop or a 2-bar loop, correct, right? That's what I was explaining to you before. But if you look where my clap is, before I was saying that the clap is on the 2 and on the 4. So it would be kick, clap, kick, kick, clap. You know what I'm saying? More like this one, kick, kick, clap. So this would be 1, 2, because the clap is on the 2 and the 4. So 1, 2, clap, 3, 4, clap, okay? Come back here, well, our clap isn't on the 2 and the 4. So what I've done is I've actually cut this drum loop in half tempo-wise, okay? So it's no longer 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? It is now 1, 2, 3, 4. So where I have placed my sounds, it has now cut my tempo in half and it has now made it 70 beats per minute. Now, why you'd want to do something like this is sometimes it's nice because you can play your instrument still at a fast tempo, but then you have like your kick drum a little bit slower. So let me show you this in action, okay? So right now we are on pattern 1. It's at 140 beats per minute, but since I have made my clap making this the 2, the second beat, instead of this the second beat, okay? Because this is 1, 2. So this is like the in-between, which is like identical to me putting a sound right here. There's 1, 2. The sound is in between those 2 beats. Now it's the same thing as me putting a sound right here. It's in between those 2 beats. So I have cut this loop in half tempo-wise, okay? So right now we're at 140 beats per minute. When I hit play, you're gonna hear that, you know, it's a kick, kick, clap, and it's slower. So we'll listen. So I'll come down here, put it to 70 beats per minute. Go back. So now check this out. I'm gonna put this at 140 beats per minute. Come here, we're gonna take out Edison. You can hit down Control and E, pops up Edison for us. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this pattern in the playlist here. I'm just gonna stretch it out just a little bit. So there's no sound there, but that just allows Edison to play out the whole loop without it repeating. I just want the loop once. So I'm gonna hit record here, hit play here. Now I have the loop here in Edison. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come here to the wrench and I wanna go trim side noise, okay? So that just trimmed the noise so that it is now hitting on the 1, just like it was here. But if I go back, it's no longer hitting on the 1. If I drag that in, there's space there. So that right now there's not the same loop. If I again go to the wrench and go trim side noise, there we go. So it has now made it hit on the 1. I'm just gonna click here, drag it in. Okay, so that is the 140. So I'm gonna actually label that. So 140 BPM D loop. Okay, so that is the 140 beats per minute drum loop, which I've cut down to 70 beats per minute. Come up here to the unsorted, go to pattern 2 now. Now, if I would put this to 70 and I put this in here, you're gonna hear that there's no phase cancellation. It's actually the same drum loop, just playing twice. You know, it has like two different patterns of it. So we'll listen. And the reason for that is because if you remember, I stretched it out so I can get the full sound. So if I would just put it to like this, again, holding down Alt so I can get it perfect. So now if we listen. So if I mute this, So this one right here is the 70 BPM D loop. 70 beats, this is 140. Now, watch this. If I hold on Alt and I shift it forward a little bit, okay, so you can hear that there's a difference in those sounds. What I'm about to show you here is a trick that you'll come across in the audio industry, and it's a test to see if the two tracks are identical. And if they are identical, if you flip the polarity, come back here to Edison, the polarity is, you know, like, so here you have like your basic waveform. You have your positive and you have your negative, your positive, your negative. Now, if I were to flip this, so for example, reverse polarity, watch this. So it has now put this at the bottom, but if you watch this, you're gonna see when I reverse the polarity, it's now up. So what happens with audio is if you have two waveforms which are identical and then you flip the polarity, they cancel each other out. It's this minus this, and your result would be 0 because it's the same. So as I hover my mouse right here, if you look in the top left corner again, so I'm at minus 8.77 decibels, right? So now if I had, I guess, minus 8.77 decibels down here, it would actually be like 0 because they cancel each other out. So that is what flipping the phase does. So if you have the same sound on the opposite side at the same time, well, it's like as if that sound doesn't exist because they cancel each other out. So that's what I'm gonna do here, okay? So right now we're listening, and what's happening is they are just adding together. That's why it's louder. So what should we listen? Take one away. Okay, so it's pretty much just like doubling in volume because they're both the same polarity. So let's just take this 140 drum loop here, 140 BPM drum loop. Now I'm not going to reverse it. I am going to reverse polarity. Okay, and as you can see, it just kind of flips them. Now, if we listen, if we hear any sound, that means that these loops are not identical. The reason why we are hearing some sound there, I'm honestly not 100% sure, but I do know that like when you change tempo in certain sounds, a little pop-up will appear and it'll say, do you want to stretch, you know, that sound to that tempo? So sometimes sounds can be tempo dependent, which is, you know, maybe what's going on here, but it is canceling out quite well. And I just wanted to show you that if you have 140 beats per minute, you can bring it down and you can hear that it's pretty much the same loop at 140 beats per minute to 70 beats per minute just by shifting over the actual clap here a little bit. So instead of being 1, 2, 3, 4, which is what it is on the 70 beats per minute, it is now 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just an approach you can use so that you can, you know, play like faster instruments over a slower drum loop and, you know, kind of just be creative that way. And I think that that trick is called a null test, N-U-L-L. But yeah, I just wanted to show you how 70 beats can be also inside 140 beats per minute as well. And, you know, it could be the same thing like if you put it to like 120, you know, it could also be like 60 beats, you know, same kind of idea. All right, so let's head on over to our dance drum loop.